Almost all of us have a fear. Do you have a fear? A fear of heights, a fear of the dark, a fear of public speaking? Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, Frank Sinatra tells us fear is the enemy of logic. I have some concrete fears. My most dominant fear is my fear of heights. As I travel back in time and I think about when I was a child, I convinced myself, or perhaps some of my friends convinced me, that I could ride a Ferris wheel. I was all excited. I was with my friends at a local festival. Sure, I can do this. As we approached the line, closer and closer to my turn, I could feel my heart beating, thump, thump, thump. I could feel my palms getting sweaty, and as I looked down, they're white. I boarded that ride with my friends. I'm okay, after all, I'm at ground level. Soon, the ride raises 4 feet. It's no problem, until it stops. I'm okay with the ride as long as it's moving. When it stops, I become nervous. I again convinced myself, I'm only 4 feet off the ground. Soon, we move again. We stop again, let off passengers, let them on. By the time the ride, my seat, reached the top of the Ferris wheel, I was not lucid.
Oh.
I was screaming like a baby. They brought me to the bottom and let me off the ride. I let fear control my life, and I swore I would never let it happen again. When Adam was about 6, he and I had the opportunity to visit Geauga Lake, just him and I, and that was special. We never had time alone. We were there all day, riding every ride. We were wet from the log ride. We went around in circles hundreds of times. On our way out of the park, he says, Mom, can we ride that? That is the Space Needle, straight up 285 feet off the ground while it makes a slow 360-degree rotation. I was so terrified of that Space Needle that I looked beyond the Space Needle and said, the Tilt-A-Whirl? No, Mom, that. I couldn't let my 6-year-old see my fear. So we approached the ride, and each time we got a step closer. I could feel my heart thump, thump, thump. My palms were wet, sweaty. I can do this. I can do this. I cannot let my son see my fear. I couldn't do it. I sent my 6-year-old on that ride all by himself. As I sat on the park bench and watched him go up and down, not once, he rode it 6 times. I let fear control my life, and I swore I would never let it do it again. A few years later, we were lucky enough to take the kids on their very first trip to Disney World. We were so excited. We were probably into about day 3. John and I were simply exhausted. No one in their right mind takes a 3, 4-year-old, 6, and an 8-year-old to Disney. What were you thinking? John and I needed a much needed break, and we witnessed the monorail. And we thought, we're gonna get on the monorail and take a break, rest our tired feet. As we loaded the monorail, somehow John and I got separated. John and the 2 older kids were in one car, and I, with the 2 younger kids, were in the other car. We were traveling around Disney. It really was a beautiful experience, when all of a sudden, the ride stopped. John could see the look of panic in my face, but I had to remain calm. I had a 3 and a 4-year-old. So we sang songs, we did all types of things to entertain them. We were looking for animals, we were even looking for Mickey Mouse. Does anybody see Mickey down there? Pretty soon I yell up to John, because his car was probably about 15 feet ahead of us. I go, "Do you smell smoke?" He goes, "You are crazy." So we continued to entertain the children. Pretty soon I could hear the sound of fire trucks far off in the distance. Before long, the Disney firemen were approaching the ride. I watched as they unloaded car after car after car on this very narrow walkway that I hadn't even noticed when I loaded the ride. It was a 2-foot wire walkway that had about a 1/2-inch diameter pipe on the side, about 3 feet up, so you didn't fall off. Fall off? There's a huge gap there. John kept watching me, kept talking to me, thinking, I'm gonna make her calm. I'm gonna make her calm, it's gonna be okay. I watched the fireman approach his car. I watched him chat with the fireman, and I kept watching the fireman go. Pretty soon, I watched John grab Adam and Caitlin and walk off the ride. The fireman approached my car. I kept looking at that very narrow walkway, and then I looked at the 30-foot drop. That's a long way. I looked at that fireman, and he kept saying, "Ma'am, you're next." And I just did not respond. Every time he would get louder, "Ma'am, you're next." And I looked at him, and I just kept shaking my head. And then he finally said, "Ma'am, there's only one way off the ride." I took a deep breath. I picked up baby Marissa, grabbed Hannah's hand, and we walked off that ride, one step at a time. As I reflect back to the Ferris wheel, the Space Needle, and the monorail, I learned 3 very good lessons. 1, fear is a false expectation appearing real. 2, take a very deep breath and attempt to conquer your fears. And number 3, stay off of monorails.